Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
Hey everybody, Ronnie and Garati back here again, dropping some education on you. Today we're going to be talking about investment properties. And one cool way about investment property is that if you own a home currently, you can actually pull equity out of that home to help with the investment property. But without us explaining it, Garati found a great video that can kind of set this up, and then we can talk about it afterwards because he says it the perfect way. So let's just dive into it and look at the video.
So if I could go back in time, I would start investing in real estate in one of these two quick ways. The first, house hacking. So instead of buying a single family home as my primary residence, I would buy a 2 to 4 unit multifamily property with 3.5% down on an FHA loan, live in one unit, then rent out the rest. So the next way is a HELOC, or what you call a home equity line of credit. Now, this is where you borrow money against the equity of your current home. Now you can get a HELOC for up to 90% of the value of your property minus whatever you owe on your first mortgage. Now you can use this money from the HELOC to buy your next rental property. If any of you guys want to explore.
All right.
Yeah, that's some good information. I know we've always talked about how everyone's situation is different in the sense of where you're at in your house purchasing journey. So he just mentioned, hey, entertain buying a multifamily versus a single family. Now, obviously, if your husband or a family of 4 or X amount, more than likely you probably won't entertain purchasing a multifamily. More than likely it will be a single family home. But in this particular example, he was emphasizing, hey, multifamily, this is more for people who are probably single or just dating or just, maybe a couple that don't have any kids. But with all that being said, that's a great way for you to actually get your foot into the door as far as not only owning the property, but also being a landlord and leveraging the equity in that property to do what? Pull out that money and through a HELOC and purchase another property.
Yeah. And another thing, just to point that he mentioned FHA loan, which is kind of the loan that a lot of people thought of when to do this. But, with the conventional guidelines, you can actually buy multi-unit home. Obviously, if you live in one of them with only 5% down. So bottom line is you need a very low down payment to get into this, type of investment, right? So you kind of get a house and you can also, get an investment property at the same time.
I'm glad you mentioned the 5% down too. That's so true. Yeah. And I'm wondering, like in the case of when you do pull out that equity in the form of a HELOC, why would you recommend someone doing a HELOC versus doing a second mortgage where they just pull out the equity in the form of, I guess, a mortgage and just get that cash versus doing a HELOC, which is like almost a line of credit where you only kind of take out what you need? Like, what would you recommend someone to do if they're trying to basically leverage their equity to buy another property?
It all depends, right? Certain situations. The cool thing about a HELOC is it's not tied to a property, right? So you can, I'm going to use easy round numbers. You pulled 50 grand out of your current house that you own and use that 50 grand to go buy another property. The more you pay that down, that 50 grand, you can pull it again and buy another property, whatever it may be. So, so it all depends on the person's situation. So I wouldn't say it's a one size fits all. They both have, say, pros and cons about it. But the one thing I will point out is, when you're pulling out that home equity line of credit or second mortgage on your house, this seems obvious, but I always like to mention it. You need to tell your loan officer where you're going to get that money, because that's going to be calculating into the approval process. So that's true. As most debt comes when you get a credit card or you buy a car, HELOC, second mortgage, it may take a month or two to actually hit your credit report. So, we just need to know about that stuff, document it correctly, so there is no surprises as you're going to close on the property.
Well said. And also, I believe the turnaround time may be a little bit quicker with a HELOC versus a entertaining doing a second mortgage, in the sense of pulling that money out in the form of cash and then you start making payments on that.
So there's one bank I specifically work with that in about probably less than 10 days, you can have the cash in hand.
Okay.
So so there's certain things that, depending on, again, everybody's situation. I hate to say this one fits the best thing because everybody's got a story and of what's going on. But yes, there are options out there, especially on the HELOC side, that you can get that cash quick, depending on the situation.
Yeah, yep. And like, hey, this is a great way to kind of get your door into the multi-family 2 to 4 unit arena where you
Yeah.
become a homeowner slash landlord. And if you do it right, you can actually leverage that equity in some form of a HELOC or a second mortgage to purchase your next property. And Ronnie, being an expert in that, he knows the best way to kind of address that depending on where you're at in your journey in real estate.
Yeah. Comment below with any questions. And we're here to help in any way we can.
Exactly. As always, we like to inform and not to influence. All right. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Take